All right, we'll start with a little bit of some numbers. Winter operations, Caltrans' overall budget is about $9.7 billion. $1.6 billion is the maintenance part of that. There's 19,000 employees at Caltrans, just over 6,000 maintenance employees. Department facts, 50,000 lane miles, almost 13,000 bridges, 12,000 pieces of equipment. You guys are aware of that. 353 maintenance stations statewide. Winter operations facts. The budget for winter operations, and this is just snow and ice, is somewhere around $25 million a year. 9,000 center line or lane miles. Just about 600 seasonal employees to go along with the 1,900 permanent operators we have up there. Almost 1,100 plow trucks, 193 graders, 307 loaders, 77 snow blowers, a lot of stuff for DOE to take care of. Last winter, as you see, we went over the budget quite a bit. Heaviest winter we've had in a lot of years, $33 million. And that's just snow and ice. If you go down and you look and see at the total budget for other operations, it was $30 million, so it ended up coming to about $63 million statewide for winter operations last year. Caltrans, we divided the state into 12 districts and don't know how they got 10 in the middle, but our main snow districts are 2, 3, 10, 6, 9, 8, 7, and we even get a little bit on 11. Man chain control, staff man chain control. We do this for our own benefit mainly. You get somebody, in the Midwest, you guys, you're born and raised with snow. You know what it's like to get up and drive in the snow. Here, you get a guy that gets up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. It's drizzling rain, it's 53 degrees. He decides to take the kids skiing. You know, he went once when he was a little kid with his parents. He jumps in his BMW, they take off, and in 45 minutes, they're at 4,000 feet. It's 30 degrees and it's snowing. He doesn't have any chains. He doesn't have any snow tires. He doesn't even know how to drive in the snow. If we can keep those guys out of the chain control area, that really helps us with our operations. Most of the time when we got to close, it isn't because we don't have the equipment or people to get the snow off the road. It's because accidents keep us from getting to our job. So by doing management chain control, we only advise. We can't keep them out. CHP can. But we let them know what they're going to get into and what's happening. It really, really helps our operation. CMS signs, same thing. Let the public know what's ahead of them, what's coming. The HAR, Highway Advisory Radio, same deal. Put a message on there. Hey, you're going to have to put chains on at 25 miles. And a lot of people will turn around. When they see what's happening or hear what's happening, they don't want to go. California has 3 districts that have major avalanche zones. We attack it in a number of different ways, but our main system is the Gazex system. This consists of a cannon that sits up on the mountain. It's got a shelter that can run any 6, 8, or 10 of these cannons. There's tubes that go down to the cannon. We release oxygen and propane into the cannon to ignite it. That causes a concussion that makes the avalanche come down. Fantastic system. Great dependability. Almost 99% dependability on these things. You know, we stage them strategically on them around the mountain. They work really, really good. We used to shoot the old 75 millimeter recoilless rifle. Was the main way we did avalanche control in the past. About 20 years ago, we started running out of ammo, started having some problems with the guns. They were Korean War vintage guns. So we changed this system, and it's worked great for us. Matter of fact, we're now in the process of replacing a whole lot of this system because of its age. It's 20 to 25 years old. So we're replacing some of the exploders. We're putting some new shelters in. Really good system. But as with everything else, there's a lot of electronics involved. We've even had situations where we've had enough of a winter where we've ran out of supplies up on the mountain, ran out of propane, ran out of oxygen. So we have to have a backup system. You know, here's some of the results of avalanche. This is what we try to accomplish. As you can see on the down here on the right, on the left side, on the very bottom, you see that's an avalanche that we caused. You know, when the road was closed. And if you look real close down there, you can see a car. The machine on the right is a split mount loader blower. I don't know if some of the states may not be familiar with this. We got to have this machine. It's our most important machine we have for avalanche cleanup. We get some slides that'll be 20, 25 feet deep, and you just can't use a regular blower. Okay, we've used snowcats to try to push to the blowers, but this is the best way we found to get those slides cleaned up. Fantastic machine. Okay, so I was talking about the Gazex. We do have some failures. You'll have some electronic glitches. We have to have a backup system. So after we ran out of 75 rounds, they purchased what they call a low-CAT system. It's a low-cost artillery trainer. Basically, this shoots a projectile with compressed air. This one here This is an expensive system to maintain and operate, but it will do the distance we need. There's some other guns out there you'll see a little later in Avalauncher. They just won't get the range we need and the accuracy in windy conditions. This one will do it. I like the picture on the left there. That's District 3's, we call it the Taj Mahal. That's what they shoot out of. They can stay in the dry and open the doors up and shoot their whole entire area from that room. It's pretty neat. Everybody else is not quite so lucky. Got to go outside in the weather to shoot ours. That's District 10's mount on the left there. District 9, you know, on the bottom left, you'll see that they actually can put theirs in the back of a truck. They can use the low-cat or the Avalauncher system from the back of the truck. Works really good. Avalauncher Cannon also shoots project air, or shoots with compressed air, but it's a way cheaper system to shoot. The problem is the range. You can only get about 2,400 feet out of this, and it won't get to all the shots we need. But in District 9, this is their main weapon because they have close shots, and it works really good. We can fire this thing for about $50 a round, Greg, is that about right? Where that Avalauncher is closer to $300 a shot. So this is way cheaper. We use it whenever we can. Talked earlier about a Gazex failure. We had one on the Carson Pass this year, and it went about 4 days where we couldn't shoot a shelter, and it ended up being an electronic issue. So the road was closed for that 4 days, and when those guys finally were able to get over there and shoot the gun, it brought down an avalanche, took out about 1,000 feet of guardrail. So the road was closed the whole time when that was happening. Jet roofs, top of the spur, you know, good system, keeps the cornices from developing. There's some maintenance involved with this, but it works really good. Tow plow, Caltrans has 2 tow plows, and we've deployed them with mixed reaction. Because of the California heavy snow, the steepness, they're not for all our area. We're going to deploy them to a different area this year, try to get them to work a little bit better. Icebreakers, these are Snowline brand. The one on the right, we actually had it deployed last year, and it worked really good. It was able to, we put it side by side with the grader, and it took more ice off the road than the grader would. You know, good piece of equipment. The problem is, again, you have to dedicate the loader to them. We're trying to get these things developed where we can get the quick change put on them in ACS or something, but that's not there yet. You know, so the one on the right, or the left, we didn't get to deploy. Hopefully it'll deploy this winter, and I think it has a good chance of working also. RWIS, Road Weather Information Systems, you guys are probably all aware of that. California has about 350 of them statewide. We're trying to add a bunch more this year. We're updating the software as we speak with the contract. You know, overall goal is to get this stuff in with MDSS and get it onto a forward, you know, not only internal but external, so we can get it to a quick map so the public can see the information. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Mountain Pass roading system. This is a neat project. I don't know if Joe Horton's still here, but we did this about 9 years ago with DRSI. What this does is we close about 4 mountain passes for the winter. And depending on the winter, there can be 15, 20 feet of snow up there when we go to open the gates. And there's local communities that depend on us getting those passes open as quick as we can. You know, the Levining side on 395, there's probably 15 or 20 motels in that town, and you go there in the middle of April, and there isn't anybody in that town. There's 8 restaurants, and there might be 1 open. That's the main, that 120 corridor is the main way into Yosemite from the LA Basin, San Bernardino area. So they're dependent on us getting that road open. And if we can get it open 3 weeks sooner, that's 3 weeks more that town needs for its commerce. They really depend on us. Well, we developed this mountain road opening system. It's a system that goes in a blower or a grader, a piece of equipment, and it's onto about 1 inch with GPS data. We map it first. It's put on a disc. There's a unit installed in a blower, and along with satellite data that's present, he can know right where he is within 1 inch on that road. And that's a big thing when you're talking about rocks on the edge of the road, because there's no snow pools up there. You know, we don't leave it open in the winter. So if you can keep them blowers out of the rocks, it's a big thing. Well, we developed a system, and then we didn't have a winter for like 6 years. So nobody wanted it. You know, they offer, what do we need that for? You got 2 or 3 feet of snow, you can see where the road goes. And then we lost a lot of the old operators we had that knew right where the road went. They didn't need this thing. Well, last year, we had a good winter. Up on 120, we had some slides and some avalanches where we couldn't see where the road went. We reactivated this thing, and it worked great. The guys just loved it. You know, the other passes had the same issues. We had one pass where they were 300 yards off the road, out in the trees, and couldn't find where the road was. So now we're going to reactivate this thing and try to do it for the other passes. Really cool system. Brine Making. California got drug into the brine making system, kicking and screaming. hard to change old ideas. We've got an area that went from 4,500 tons of sand and cinders in one season to 0 using brine. You know, Clear Roads is working on a project right now, pool front project, to look at, you know, just solid liquid roads, what they're going to call it. It's a liquid road. You know, you're just going to use brine to keep that roadway open. And this all depends on, you guys all know temperatures and what you can and can't use brine at. But in a lot of places in California, we don't get the cold temperatures they do, so we should be using more. We're putting 6 additional systems in right now. I think we have 14 statewide now. We're putting 6 more in this year, 6 more next year. The big plus side of brine is, I say this lightly, I'm not a real big green guy. I think we shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times with the green stuff we try to do. But if you can do green and make it work for you, you can use brine where you would take a 20-mile stretch of road. If you're going to use straight salt to melt that pack off, you may use 50 ton. If you use brine, it'll do the same thing in like 10 ton of salt. So you can get the same outcome, keep the green people happy. It's a plus all the way around. And, you know, sand and salt are the big thing we're trying to get rid of. We use so much. Epoke spreaders, again, with the brine systems, we got to get these guys the right tools to put it out with. You know, right now we're using poly tanks and doing the best we can. We're soaking our sand with brine, which works really good. But this Epoke spreader, and there's some other, it's just a brand, but there's Henderson, and we even have one here that's Schmidt now, bought Swenson. So great system. You can put brine in the tanks. You can put sand in the hopper. These things are directionally, they put the sand exactly where you want it. Good tool. They're expensive, but a really good tool.
My name is Joel Allen. I work for the California Department of Transportation, Division of Maintenance, Office of Safety, Equipment, and Training. I get to talk to you something that I'm really excited about. So I work, the difference between Caltrans, as you saw, is divided into 25 divisions. It ebbs and flows on a number of divisions. We have a division of rail, we have aeronautics, but the 2 important ones are the equipment division and the maintenance division. We don't have anybody else from anywhere else, do we? Research. And research, I meant research too. So the difference is what we do is our equipment division, we have to work hand in hand. They provide us the equipment that we need to do our job, and they maintain it. Our responsibilities are to use the equipment they provide us in a safe, proper manner, and to actually use it. In the olden days, when we had a piece of equipment that we need to replace, and Bob will tell you, if it reached age and it hardly had any hours on it, nobody looked at that, say a loader. They just replaced it because they couldn't get parts for it. Well, after we had a huge wake up when we had basically an equipment reduction about 10 years, well, 7 or 8 years ago now. And that woke us up. Because even on that thing, we had one district with 7 snow blowers that had 5 blowers on that list to reduce. And so what we learned from that is that it wasn't necessarily that we weren't using the equipment, it's that we were not reporting it. Comes back to data with the guys. And so we did a shuffle and we ended up losing, was it 1,200 in maintenance, something like that, out of like 9,000 something. So we lost a significant, and maybe we actually didn't need them. Who knows? But by the time we did the shuffle, 1,100 units left. And so my division chief said, you guys get together with the equipment division, we don't want to see this ever happen again. And so since that time, we've been working really hard on developing utilization plans. Some of the stuff we've done has been positive and some is maybe not so much. But our equipment use recording is way up. We went from 2,000, out of the 8,000 something we had left, when we started putting in policies, we had 2,000 underreporting units. After we started enforcing policies, that dropped to 300. So people started reporting. Okay, so part of what we were working on was how do you look at a unit or a spreadsheet or whatever and determine what the utilization is? You know, it's not a simple thing. You saw presentations here from the research people that had spreadsheets that were, well, I posted out the vehicle meets criteria. I printed that out one time, our own spreadsheet, and it's got a lot of really good information, this and, you know, repair costs and use and all this. And when I printed it out to a legible size, it stretched 8 feet. And so how can you quickly look at that information and get some and know what's happening? And so that's what we tasked ourselves with, because when you're analyzing 8,000 pieces of equipment, 700 or 600 different classifications, you need to be able to look at that quickly. Otherwise, you're going to have analysts just poring over it. I mean, if you're going to try to do day-to-day decisions with 4,000 or 5,000 employees. And so we needed to come up with something that we could look at a piece of equipment, we could associate a number with it, and we could go, boom, we know basically where that's at, and then we could go in further and do more research to validate that number. And so we came up with a 4-digit number, 555. If your piece of equipment makes a 555, you automatically know it's ready it's good on your replacement list. Okay, so this is just an example of what we were trying to figure out. Okay, so this is a list of equipment, and okay, we decided green was okay, it passed, and red and yellow, and all this stuff was going on, and we had these 8-foot spreadsheets and so on and so forth, and it was really frustrating. It made me feel like this. I love that picture. Sometimes work feels like that, right? That's one of my off-hour staff. We had a former Division of Equipment staff person working for us on this project, and he actually dreamed up a concept that works. Dreamed it up on his own time. He wants overtime, but he doesn't get overtime. But it's this 4-digit number. Well, for those that are looking at this one, the first number represents age. The second number represents meter usage lifetime. The 4th digit is annual use, and the third is annual use, and the 4th is how much money has been spent keeping it going. So now I'm going to just quickly go through how that works. So what is it? It's a 4-digit number, and I just told you what the numbers represent. Now, to start with, on the age and the usage, those numbers are taken from our replacement standards, what our vehicles should reach to be replaced. And in the past, we've had equipment classifications, including graders and loaders, that would not meet our own replacement standards. And we were asking to replace them. So you go into a recession, and then you go in to replace these things. You've just been through an equipment reduction, and what do you think the answer is? And so it's important when you have those standards that you take the time to validate them. And so our groups got together, and we validated all the replacement standards. Well, most of them. I don't know if we got to all of them. So it's important. That's where you got to start, is your replacement standard, if you use this process. And then the repair cost is 50% of the capital cost. When you spend 50% of what you paid for that thing, then you need to start thinking about getting it moved on. Our replacement standard for a loader is 12 years, 5,500 hours, and if you divide this into this, you come out, you should be using it almost 450 hours a year, okay? This is going to be interactive because you're going to do the next one. I'm going to do this one for you, but you're doing the next one. Okay, so this loader, I don't know about that loader. So that's a replacement standard. So now what you do is you take those numbers and you divide them by 5, and you get 20% of each, 20% of the months in service, the life hours, and the annual use. You break it into 20% increments. So let's do an actual loader. Okay, so you have this loader. Let's say it had, and we're going to start with the 3 digits. We're going to add the 4th digit in right at the end. Okay, so you have a loader that we score as a 344. Okay, so what's that mean? You go down here to 3, 80% used, between 87 and 115 months. In hours, it's got 4,400, between 4,400 and 5,500, and then the annual usage is somewhere right there. Okay, I threw this in as kind of a little intermission. Some people wonder what some of the stuff we do with our equipment. This is a snow haul in South Lake Tahoe. how many people haul snow? This is how they load it. This is some of the stuff we do with our equipment. Last year, a big snow haul consists of 6,000 loads. And they did 2 or 3 or 4 of those last year. Okay, so now we have a loader that's been in service 36 months, okay? You're going to do this one. It's been in service 36 months. It's got 2,200 hours, or 550 hours, and it was used 220. What's the utilization score going to be for that? Right there, a 102. So you can quickly see, okay, it's a new loader getting used, fairly new loader. Okay, so this is where they haul the snow. It's a 20-acre place, and they stockpile it. I love showing these kind of pictures because look at this, state vehicle, state vehicle, state vehicle, all being used. Okay, now you have a loader with 121 months in service, 5,430 hours, and 420 hours used the previous year. So what number would that be? See how fast you can pick this up? Automatically it tells you that. And what you want, that's what you want. You want your units to come up pretty even all the way up, at least the first 2 digits. That's what you're looking for. Here's our actual loaders, and I know you can't see that. Usually I'll give a one-page handout. These are some of our actual loaders. And we got this just like a few months ago. There's one there that's a 400. So what's that mean? No, it means it's a data screw up. It had a meter change and it didn't get input. So the data is really, 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 really important. And so what we're doing about that is we're trying to get away. It's just another justification for us to go to GPS so we can get true meter readings without fingers and stuff. Because we currently get our equipment usage by 2 or 3 different sources. Through our maintenance program, through our shop programs. And so we're trying to get away from that and just get one source of data. And then these numbers will be better. So we have a 400 there, a couple of 455s. That's getting pretty good use. Then you go look down here, here's a 412 and a 411. What probably should have happened, they're all the same classification of loaders. And with the 4, you can see they're the same vintage. What probably should have happened with those loaders? Should have been moved around, right? Is it that easy? Hell no. That's all I can say. Yeah, and so you can see, so now you can kind of see what this score can do and how simple it is. It's really, really ingenious. So you can take a whole list of loaders, oh yeah, maybe should have done that. If you go to replace a 411, what are they going to tell you? Oh, you better write up some more stuff. It must be an emergency use. So now we're still putting our utilization reports together, and now we put the utilization score on the end. And so we're moving to, we did a thing called 30-60-90 where we would track all of our the maintenance fleet units for 90 days, and if they weren't being used on the 90th day, we would talk about moving that thing around. The person yesterday talking about utilization talked about consistency of standards. And so we're moving to the federal standards in our maintenance program, and Division Equipment has already been using them. So now we're going to do a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month rather than a 30, 60, 90. And if that thing hasn't met annual usage, then we're going to consider moving it after 9 months. And so we're developing a cooperative report that shows that. And then the utilization score will be over on the edge. Okay, so now let's talk about the 4th digit. And so, you know, we were working on this process and then got together with Bob. And boy, it sure be nice to know how much money we spent on that thing as well, because then you could look at, I mean, you got to be really, really, really careful that you don't make a VIN number, okay? Because there's so many concepts. Well, I'd like to know condition. Well, I'd like to know this. And pretty soon you've got a 14-digit number and you're back where you started. What does all that mean? So, but this was a great idea. So now we're tracking the amount of dollars spent on that vehicle as well. And we use the same process with the 5. We break the 50% of the replacement cost by 5, and then we give it a number, and we know that when it reaches like a greater, which is $250,000, and I don't know what it is now, it's probably more than that. I just threw this up for example, then say you divide that in half, and you got 125, and then you divide that by 5, and then, so when you get to your 555, you know you spent quite a bit of money on that. Here's our fleet of graders, and I wish you could see this. It's the same thing as the loaders, and in fairness, we just started actually tracking this close probably 2 or 3 years ago. So that's with all 4 digits. We've got some 4 4s, and this is just a portion. I cut out, I mean, we have what, 100, we got a lot of graders. And these are 6x6 graders. But we have some with utilization scores of 4.1, 4.152, 3.1, and these are real numbers. That's the actual, we validated them. That's not good for replacement. I don't know, we're still deciding. Would you swap 2 4 graders? Graders that with an age of 4? Would you swap them statewide? It's 80% used up. I know, tough decision, right? We're looking at doing 3s and 2s is where we're moving, starting with 3s and just biting the bullets on the 4s and the 5s. Because like I said, when you move a piece of equipment around, you take something from somebody and you give them something else, you better have a good reason. And it's not easy on morale when you do that, especially if you're receiving the short end. All right, let's go back to this truck. Now you tell me about this truck. How old is it? 80% used up. How's the life usage? Maybe, could be ready to flip. How about, last year's usage was good, it has a 4. Got a high repair cost, but look what kind of truck it is. You drive a big 10-wheeler with a wing, so that's probably not a bad thing. Would this truck be considered for rotation? I wouldn't. So you can see now, and that was the last one. So you can see how this little tool can help you, and you can you can average classification, you can get lists of whole things and start looking at them. And actually, we brought a person on staff that's going to start doing that yesterday. So I just wanted to share that with you. I know most of you who work for Caltrans I know most of you that work for Caltrans have already seen this. But I love sharing this because, it was a brain trust from both of our divisions, and it's something I think everybody can use, and it's really simple.
Have you configured your system to where it does the scoring automatically, or is that basically something that an individual has to sit down and start scoring from the age and things like that?
No, we've got it. It's all data done.
Within your fleet management system?
Well, we have really smart people with Access and Excel and Access, and the data gets pulled in every time we run a report, and it's done automatically. You get all and we could send a spreadsheet or whatever we use. Once you get it in there, then it just automatically populates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a good thing. And the cool thing about this, supervisors understand it, lead workers understand it. So when you go to them, Tom, this truck's only a 411. We really need to, it really doesn't have, at least you have an argument. All right, any other questions?
The one thing that I think that it does for you, it provides you an indicator.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe I need to look into this a little more. Before you had to do the complete analysis in order to look into it. This is just at a glance. I mean, I'm from the shop. I look at that and say it's a 4.3 with repair cost of 5. Maybe it's because the repair costs are high, it's not reliable, it's not available for them to get the annual use on it. And so then you start delving into it a little deeper. All right. Thanks, Joel.
The preceding video was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found at tsp2.org. That's tsp2.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.